Let's do a show.
I am doing a show. It's
Not that kind of show. This kind of show.
That's burping with Jeffrey Sargent. Wow, Jeffrey Sargent.
Here we
That's
go.
burping. 7 a.m.
Hey!
You know what that means, good people of the world.
Yes. It's time for our show. It's time for our show.
Nobody in the 90s knows what you're doing there, Granddad.
Wake up, everybody. It's time for the Jeff Sargent
You might as
Show.
well start doing Arsenio from 88.
Only on Chaotic Radio. www.chaoticradio.com. Streaming live from Rancho Cucamonga.
We'll do it live.
Only an hour from wherever you are. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it sounds like us yesterday.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome y'all to Hot Chick Friday.
Oh, a gorgeous lady Friday.
We have Elizabeth.
Rock and roll Friday.
Elizabeth
Wow.
Steen Nickel.
Yeah. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Jeffrey. How are you?
Well, I'm starting with this cup of coffee with cinnamon cream.
Wow, cinnamon cream. I'm drinking French vanilla like some kind of sucker.
Oh, oui, monsieur.
If you were my waiter, I would beat you to death with a tire iron. You know what's important, people? You know what today is?
It's Donut Day.
National Donut Day, mofo.
Does that mean if we go to Krispy Kreme?
That means free donut at Krispy Kreme.
Oh
Yes.
God, we're gonna hit that because
Damn right we are.
I don't eat donuts too often. Well, when I do, I go Krispy Kreme.
Gotta go Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts is also really good.
I'm drinking Dunkin' Donuts coffee right now.
It is very good, you know.
Maybe they should sponsor us, huh?
Well,
Yeah, pay our rent and all that shit, man.
I'm honored, as you are, to have Jamal's New York Bagels.
Yes,
Made with
New
actual
York
New York water.
Bagel Company
We heart you, Jamal.
on
Who we saw
Rancho Cucamonga. They're located on the corner of Archibald and Foothill,
Right down the street.
right
from
there in that little
Comics.
shopping center on the upper east corner.
Jamal's light, fluffy, delicious.
Jamal makes you
bagels.
and what makes a good New York bagel?
Besides Jamal, New York water.
The New York water makes a New York bagel, man.
You
We
give
had
Jamal
one-
some New York water, and the man's a wizard.
We had our delicious bagels yesterday, didn't we?
We did.
After the show.
He laughed so hard. We walked in with our lovely guest, glamorous Glynis Pruitt, dressed as Wonder Woman. And she had a sun-dried bagel that looked pretty damn good. I had a straight-up bagel, same thing, with just covered with a smear of cream cheese.
Mine was blueberry.
You sound like Dan.
I had the blueberry egg, cheese, and sausage.
Did you really?
Yep.
Because you were effing around outside, yeah.
Yes, and we're back with Pacific Wine Merchants and Cigar Exchange, man. Our buddy Mark Heffernan is back. We are back pumping and advertising for Pacific Wine Merchants and Cigar Exchange, located in downtown Upland.
Okay, the lovely
At the
Elizabeth.
Metrolink. Come in for a fine cigar, the largest humidor, and fine craft beers and delicious wines from all over the world.
Okay, our lovely guest just said she's 5 minutes off.
Yep, that's what she said. Our guest today is Elizabeth Steen Knuckleberg, and then we'll have a call in from our rock star friend, Paulie.
Knuckleberg.
No, his name is Paulie. He's a rock star. He's a singer.
Then why can't you name two of his credits?
Yeah. He's got some new music coming out.
His from his upcoming album, Free Donut Day.
Free Donut Day.
Free Donut
Yes.
Day. It's almost free. It is Free Donut Day.
No. I think it's national tournament. I don't know if
National
they're free.
tournament.
Polly Rockwell. Yeah. He's going to call in. We're going to call in and talk to him about some rock and roll stuff.
He's not the Rockwell who did Someone Is Watching Me.
That's Rockwell. That guy just made up that name. This is part of the Rockwell family that makes tools.
You know, the exciting thing about Rockwell, remember the story? The Motown president Berry Gordy said, I just hired this guy named Rockwell. He wanted to perform for you so much. He sang the song for us, and we were so impressed we gave him a contract out of the blue. And Rockwell, with Someone Is Watching Me, Michael Jackson heard him and was so impressed, he said, I'm going to sing backup for him. And then it came out that Rockwell was a cat named, stop me if you've heard this before, Berry Gordy Jr.
Wow.
So Berry Gordy Sr. either didn't know his own son was auditioning for him as Rockwell, or the whole story was BS.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That's the way the 80s were back then.
That was crazy 80, man.
Crazy 80s, yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
No. Oh, hey, today is also the 80th anniversary of Superman.
Oh, Superman, look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's Bill Kennedy.
Why would you even say a bird?
Because
Superman does not look like a bird flying through the air, no.
Well, remember, Bill Kennedy.
He does not look like a plane. Why do they do that?
Excuse me. This is Bill Kennedy we're talking about here. Bill Kennedy was an old drunk out of Michigan, and he was this old drunk bit part actor, and he went into audition for Superman.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't get the part, but the producers liked his voice, and they hired him to do the opening crawl. It's a bird. Pew! It's flying. It's Superman.
It's Superman.
So that was Bill Kennedy, and Bill Kennedy was this old busted-out bit part actor who wound up in Detroit where he did Bill Kennedy at the movies.
Wow, that's cool.
To the great Timothy Patrick Quill from Evil Dead and Army of Darkness and Spider-Man, a bunch of Sam Raimi movies. Him and Bruce Campbell do the best Bill Kennedy voice.
Oh, really? How cool is that?
Bruce Campbell will give you 10 minutes doing Bill Kennedy because any schoolboy in Upland knew if you're homesick, all you had to look forward to were Happy Days reruns, and Bill Kennedy at the movies.
Wow.
We should have asked Dave Ivey about him. Dave Ivey would have told
we got to get him back on the show.
We really do.
I'm glad he's over his tough times. They were at a point where he had to sell their grandfather's 1914 Indian motorcycle, which is very rare, and that thing still runs. So it's still their family heirloom.
Heirloom, yeah. But Dave Ivey's a great guy, and The Ghoul was a great show, you know?
Yes, and we'd like to. We got to call him up. He's going to send us some DVDs, right?
Hey, he was going to send us pictures of Froggy, which we still haven't got.
But he's had. They were having little problems with their house.
No, a little problem. They were flooding during the winter season. That's horrible.
Yeah, I mean they're getting the renovations and all that stuff. So we'll give him a buzz.
I love that you knew Dave Ivey's daughter, and she freaked out. She pulled him into the computer when I wore the Ghoul shirt.
The Ghoul shirt. She says, she's wearing the Ghoul shirt. My dad and I go.
I wore it on.
And I go, who's that? Oh, that Mickey Ivey. And he said, related to Dave Ivey? Yeah, you wear like. I just didn't put it all together, man.
Well, you wouldn't. I mean, you're not from Michigan. It would be like me trying to talk to you about something from North Carolina.
Yeah. She. That was a Michigan, a Detroit themed.
It was a horror show, yeah.
Base show.
Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi used to appear on it, before they were famous.
That's really cool, man.
And again, Bruce Campbell would do 10 minutes on Bill Kennedy.
Yep, that's cool about that Bill Kennedy. I had no idea how that happened.
The great Steve Joyner texted that Elizabeth is outside. Cool.
Yeah. She's going to walk in this door at any moment. Oh, no, the phone is ringing. Hey, Steve.
This is really compelling.
Yeah,
radio,
well, is she going to walk in?
One-sided conversation. Or do I need to open the door for her?
No, guests usually just walk through the door,
I'll get the door.
We don't search for them and see we don't know what kind of car they're driving.
Oi.
We never yanked a guest out of our car. Yeah. Pat just took a peek outside the door right now. Uh-oh, here she comes. Okay. All right, bye. Here we go. Hey, Patrick, what are you doing?
I'm waiting for our guest to show.
Get back on your microphone. I felt really lone and desolated for
desolated. You mean devastated?
No, not devastated.
Desolated means they raised your village, you moron.
Oh yeah.
We have our guest in a Tweety Bird costume, waving people over to the car lot.
Is it a private home? I'm outside. What? I am here, but I don't see an entrance. Oh, that's her.
All right, I'll talk to the audience while you talk.
Elizabeth.
Let's see. This is compelling. National Donut
A private home. Did you get the wrong address? We're 10134 Suite I, 6th Street.
Basically, our guest is like the ending of Son.
You're on what? Rancho Boulevard? No. It's 6th Street in Rancho Cucamonga. I'm gonna text you the address again right now.
For God's sake, Elizabeth, don't knock on the door.
Yeah, don't knock on the door. It's not the right people.
It puts the lotion in the basket.
Yeah, they might throw you in the basement.
Yeah. You don't want to be trapped in the basement, Elizabeth. You'd be much happier here on the air with us.
Okay, I'm gonna text you the address, and you got to be minutes away from wherever you're at. Okay,
thanks.
We'll see you in a few minutes. Okay.
Wow.
Bye.
Yeah, poor Elizabeth. She's going to knock on the door, and the guy's going to say,
it might be the Insidious house.
Does this smell like chloroform?
Oh, my God. Does it smell like
The Insidious house is in Pasadena.
Okay. It is?
Yeah, but
tell us about it.
Okay, it's a cool place in Pasadena. My friend dated one of the nurses from the movie. They also shot Spider Baby there in the same house.
Sid Haig.
With Sid Haig. Well, now, Elizabeth was in Insidious, but she's not in the Insidious that everyone knows with the ghosts and all that.
Now, what happens when a lot of these movies have the same titles and they're different productions?
Yeah. Steve Joyner likes my joke because he says she accidentally went to Buffalo Bill's house.
Oh, Buffalo Bill, yeah.
He's this pretty European girl. Does it smell like chloroform?
Empty lotion bottles out the front porch.
Has anyone seen our guest? It will be the most beautiful milk carton with her picture on it. There we go. I wonder if the donut place delivers. See, wow. So welcome to Donut Friday, National Donut Day. Booyah! Donut.
An insidious donut.
An insidious donut. I've been to Voodoo Donuts. Speaking of
Voodoo Donut. Where is that up north?
Where is that? Oregon.
Is that Oregon or Washington?
I had Voodoo Donuts. They're crap.
It's just
a name gimmick. It's terrible.
It's just a gimmick. Is that where they just dip their donuts and they just glue a bunch of cereal?
They glue a bunch of crap on them. Oh, look, there's Frosted Flakes. And we put a little Voodoo Man in the top. Screw you, Voodoo Donuts. It was mediocre crap donuts. I'll give them credit for a good title.
So they're just putting on a show.
Yeah. And wow, we're wacky.
We're going to put on some frosting and dip it in Fruit Loop cereal.
I was utterly disappointed in Voodoo Donuts.
And they're probably not even hot and fresh.
They weren't hot. They weren't fresh.
They're for display to look at.
It was bland donuts with crap glued on it. You know?
Oh, bland. So there's only one of those shops, right?
Yeah.
Why? They're so famous. How do we? Everybody knows about it on Facebook, always posting. I went through Oregon and we stopped by Voodoo Donuts.
First of all, if you're going to go through Oregon,
don't be a pincushion. Don't be the voodoo doll, man.
Yeah, don't be the Voodoo Donut sucker. I mean, you go to Powell's, which is overpriced, but if you're coming from California, you stop at Powell's Books on your way to Seattle. Oregon was so. I remember Stephen and I. This is several years back. Steve and I drove to Oregon to Powell's, and the radio was on. Portland was one of the places they believed had the black-eyed kids. You know, the dead ghost kids. So Steve and I stop at Powell's, and listen to the black-eyed kids. The ghost kids, the urban legend. So the bookstore closes, and we're walking up the parking garage because we're like the last car out. And Stephen and I, again, we've been listening to black-eyed children haunting Portland for 2 hours before we got to Powell's. So we have 2 big bags of books, and we're walking up this parking garage terrified of ghostly children. It was pretty damn funny. Stephen goes, even if it's a 6-year-old begging for a ride, I'm going to run them over.
Oh, man.
No ghost kids allowed. And I was looking at a book called Weird Oregon, which is kind of compelling,
Yeah, they do have some mysterious places there, don't they?
Yes.
When I was coming back from Washington.
Now, did you take the coast or did you take the 2?
I think it was the 5. Is that it?
Yeah.
It goes all the way.
But was it the one on the coastline or was it the 2?
No.
5 or the 2?
It was
$2.99.
like, yeah. We went
Did you drive through Willow Creek?
We went through Seattle. It looked just like going through L.A. when you go under the bridge.
Oh, I love Seattle so much.
And you see the buildings and the.
Did you see the elephant giving himself a car wash?
And the bay right there, right?
I love Seattle.
And you go down, you see the tall bay, you see Weedle the Needle.
Oh, yeah. How did you know Wheel of the Needle?
He's this mysterious creature.
The ape that lives on top of the Space Needle.
Yeah, the Wheel of the Needle. That's where he sleeps, right?
We had a
fictitious character.
We had no, Jeff. A real 80-foot gorilla lives on top of the Space Needle.
Well,
with a glowing red nose.
Just because you haven't seen him doesn't mean he's not there.
I remember when I was 8 and Grandma gave us Wheel on the Needle, and he had the glowing nose, and it's like. I remember I would stay at my Gram's, and one summer when I was like 14 or 15, I stayed at the summer with my grandma. My grandma was a night owl. We come by it honestly. My grandfather was a homicide detective, and so grandma would always stay up with him because he was a smoker, and she didn't want him to burn down the house. While
that's in the days when smokers fell asleep in bed and burned up.
Yeah, and she never had a cigarette in her life, but she had really bad secondhand smoke because she was always staying awake trying to keep him from burning down the house.
Oh, God.
And I remember she and I, when I was 14, I remember watching Scream Blackula Scream with this totally wonderful 80-year-old woman. My grandma and I watching Scream Blackula Scream. We watched Wild Bunch, which she dug.
Wow.
We watched like The Beast Must Die, the Hammer movie with the killer werewolf.
Oh, yeah. That, and was that in Seattle?
That was in Seattle,
So I really liked it up there. I liked the weather. I liked the landscape. And then we got down to Oregon, and we went through Portland.
Was this on the way to New Orleans, or
no? This was about 6 years ago.
Because if you go there right, I mean, if did you go to Archie McPhee's when you were in Seattle?
Yeah, this was about 6 or 7 years ago, I think. And
God,
I was driving to
so
Utah. This guy flew us up there, me and this auto mechanic body guy.
You would have gone through Utah to get to Seattle, though.
We flew up to Seattle, right? And then we got a U-Haul, and we load this guy's apartment up and put his Honda car in the back, and we drove. It was a long ride, man.
And also,
it was like 2 days of nonstop driving, but Portland at night is spectacular.
Yeah, when you hit that bridge, when all the lights,
the bridge and the lights, and them, like,
Portland is breathtaking.
And the water and cool, man. I dug it.
So to Elizabeth's family, if she's suddenly starring in a snuff movie at that guy's house, we apologize.
Oh wow.
Yes. Yes. Nothing.
Okay, she's okay. Polly says, "Okay, sorry. All right, she's got the address. She's gonna make it here.
Booyah! I love happy endings.
All right.
Interesting. But it's a National Donut Day. It's a Saturday.
Tomorrow's Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. It's a Friday.
Anything big going on this weekend?
There's the Claremont Packing House Comic-Con.
Oh, the Claremont Packing House Comic Show.
And that'll be on Sunday. Woohoo. I'm going to go. I'm going to take my nephews.
Was it this time last year when I told you I call up and they go, there's a big giant Hulk figure. And you said, I already got this one.
Yeah, you sent me a picture. Although you got me a really rare one when you found it at that thrift store.
Was it Ang Lee one?
No, you got me the one from the late 90s where he's wearing the bun huggers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was made by Applause Toys. I'd literally never seen one.
I never seen Hulk and bun huggers, man.
Yeah, you found it at the thrift store, and it's actually one of the rarest Hulks of all. So
wow.
Hulk is my spirit animal, and Jeff usually picks me up one if he finds it in different thrift stores or comic shops.
Yeah. We were at the comic shop last night looking at all those Hulk covers. I couldn't find that one, the 112 center I told you about.
No, I know the one you're talking about.
With Rick Jones.
Not Rick, it's Jim. I'll show you the one. Hold on.
There's no Jim Jones. Jim
Jones is
Kool-Aid Man.
Yes, I'm talking about Jim. He was basically the African American Rick Jones.
Yeah. Rick Jones was the blonde hair guy that rode a motorcycle with the long hair. That was Hulk's only friend
until Jim.
Yeah,
but they were trying to urban up the Hulk a little bit.
Yeah.
And let me put Hulk versus Hydra cover.
Yep.
This is really compelling radio. All these dead silences.
Dead silences in text.
Yes?
Okay, Paulie, what's your number, brother? Yeah. Keep talking, Pat.
Of course.
We can't have silence.
No,
you know, it's kind of hard to talk a different subject and text at the same time.
It is. I mean, here we go. This is the cover I'm talking about. This is Jim. Because bam. This is the cover you're talking about.
Okay. That's the one right
That's
there.
Jim in his arms, yeah.
Yeah. Steve, what's up?
While Jeff and Steve talk, Pat will carry the show on his broad shoulders.
What?
Is she on her way?
Yeah, I gave her the correct address.
Okay.
She got off on Rancho Boulevard.
You're on the radio, Steve. Move it away from the mic so I can keep the show flying so you guys are ready.
I was gonna call the studio line and do my Steve Rubin impression.
Oh, boo. Steve Rubin holds the record as one of our 3 most boring guests.
Rubin, I'm gonna spend the morning with Elizabeth and show her some of my plagiaristic work that I do.
Yeah, Steve Rubin wrote like the most boring James Bond book ever written. And if those long-time listeners of the show know, Steve came on without talking to a single person from Twilight Zone and quoted my own article to me.
And
without
it's echoing.
Get him away from the mic.
I know it is. Anyway, well, shoot, you guys just, I don't know, tell jokes or something.
These are the jokes, baby. I don't dance.
We're going to talk about free donut day till she walks through the door.
Yeah, but there's only so much you can do with donuts, you know?
Yeah, I'm texting Paulie right now to have him call in and film why she gets there.
Yeah, well, I tried to call the studio line. I don't know what to do here. It's just Friday madness right here. So we got.
This is the moment of the show when we say, "Come back, Dan. All is forgiven." We're on with the great Steve Joyner. By the way, next week on the Jeff Sargent Show is Shark Week. We're going to have a ton of people from different shark movies.
Oh, hey, you know what? Here's an idea. Why don't you guys talk about next week's lineup? How about that?
Hey, let me ask Steve. Steve, let me ask you. Do you know Roy Arbogast? Yeah.
No.
Okay, I can't find his number, but.
No, I don't know of him. But so next week, who do we have on the show next week?
Wow, thanks to you, sir, we got the cast of the Megalodon from Asylum Movies, the makers of Sharknado.
Thursday and Friday are Shark Days.
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Our Megalodon's coming in Wednesday.
Wednesday, Thursday, no.
Thursday is the great Joe Alves, director of Jaws 3D, but more importantly, sculptor, builder of the shark from every Jaws movie except 4, the crappiest one.
Okay, and then Friday is Richard Karn and Ken Carpenter. That's going
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, we got the guy from Home Improvement and the guy from Hellraiser.
Did you talk to Richard at all, Jeff?
No, I didn't call him. We were busy.
Holy heck! Get rid of that guy. Our vision of loveliness has walked in the studio. Elizabeth.
Oh,
wow.
my God. Well, I'm sorry. We got to hang up, Steve.
Madam.
We just hung up on Steve.
You're a lovely one. Wow, the pleasure is mine.
She made it. You went to the haunted house. We were so worried about you.
We were.
Oh,
You
my
were.
God.
Would you like a water, Elizabeth?
Yes, please.
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
love the water.
Okay, we have a side mic right here.
Put
you
on
can
your
speak in
headphones.
right here.
Okay.
Yeah, put those on and I'll get you water.
I'm getting text from Paulie. He was dealing with something. A woman with children locked her keys in her car. He's here, there now. Thanks for being a hero, Paulie. And we'll get your phone call in a few minutes here. Let's get
Here you go, Your Highness.
let's get Elizabeth going here.
Wow. Here you go, Joffrey.
Oh wow! So the first thing I want to know. Let's see. Okay.
Okay,
Put
ladies
on
and
your
gentlemen.
headphones. Microphone, side feed microphone.
Hot Chick Friday is now in session. Thank God.
Say hello, Elizabeth. Introduce yourself.
We were worried your kidneys were being harvested.
I was worried myself for a second there. I was like, wait a minute, it's a private home I'm going to?
In the basement, the radio we're broadcasting from the basement.
They do the show in the basement.
Yes. And
First you put on the lotion.
yeah. First you put it in the basket.
She'll be spending the weekend tied up in a ball gag wondering what the hell happened.
Oh, we're not doing the interview today. You got to lose about 20 more pounds. No, yeah. The
I
fitness
need to wear
dress.
your head as a hat. He's going to use your hair as his Sunday bonnet.
Was it a scary? Was it a house? What happened?
Yeah, tell us.
Tell us what happened this morning.
How'd you get out of it, Nancy Drew?
Well, I apparently got the wrong address, and that must have been my own mistake, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to this little, cute little street where it was all private houses. I was like, wait a minute, can this be right? Then I saw a Spectrum car. I'm like, well, maybe that's it. Something is going on here at least.
She gives enough credit to drive a Spectrum, folks.
I was like, this might be wrong. Let me check in with the guys.
When you called me, the last thing I said is, Elizabeth, the last thing I need to warn you is you will be taken. Jeff and I have a special skill set. Getting you back isn't one of them. But we would have the first free donut at Krispy Kreme in your honor.
I wouldn't be surprised because strange things always happen to me. But I always said, you know what? Anything can happen to me after the movie comes out. And then just let me get through the movie release, and then God knows.
Wow, exactly. You haven't lived long enough to promote the movie.
Yes. Get it finished. It's in post-production right now, and just get it out,
Bravo.
Then I can get tied up and ball gagged in a basement somewhere.
Perfect. We've got a hell of a rap party planned. And by the way, Jeff was really excited. He had a ton of questions about your movie Insidious till he found out it was the wrong Insidious.
Oh, yeah. Yes, there were two Insidious. I was in one. It was an indie film. And the same year, the other Insidious came out. I don't know if that was planned or, whatever. But anyways, I was like, wow, you've been in Insidious. That's great. Well, not that Insidious. Another Insidious.
Don't correct them in additions, though.
That happened early. Remember Alex Wong did the one called Lilith, and I think Jessica Cameron did one called Lilith.
Jessica Cameron did one called Jessica Cameron, the actress filmmaker. She did a Truth or Dare.
And there was another movie called that.
Blumhouse just put out a Truth or Dare like several months ago. They called it the Blumhouse Pictures Truth or Dare. That's how they got around it. Because Madonna also did a Truth or Dare. There's like several movies with like 4 different titles. Insidious, Relentless, stuff like that, where you have 4 different movies with the exact same title.
Wow.
Yours is the one without the ghost.
And then there's totally, completely different movies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so they're just movies with the same title, but usually in the same genre, right?
It happens. You know, my movie that's coming out that I've been producing and
Plug the title, Your Highness. What's it called?
What's that?
What's the title, Your Highness?
It's called Heart of the Home. Now, I Googled it, and it was no movie with that name yet, but
now there's 3. In the time it took for you to skip the murder house to get here, there are now 3 Heart of the Home.
Yeah, but I figured if there would be, it would probably not be horror because it's not a name you normally associate with horror. You know,
unless you put like drippy blood lettering, you know.
You know it.
And the Little Red Riding Hood is going to Grandma's house. That was never associated with horror before then.
Right, exactly.
By the way, your accent is delightful. Where are you from?
Thank you. I am from Norway.
Wow.
Yes.
Norwegian. Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
Norwegian invasion in LA.
Okay, I'm going to mention my favorite Norwegian TV show. Have you seen Occupied?
I have not.
You've got this great miniseries, a Norwegian miniseries on Netflix called Occupied.
I got to check it out.
You'll like it. You know, the head of the Norwegian prime minister is a weak man, and he's going to go green in the entire country.
Really?
And he's going to stop oil production. The Soviets roll in to help him make up his mind. And it turns out the Soviets have decided to stay in the Norwegian area to make sure they pump. Basically, it's the soft takeover. And it's whether or not the Norwegian prime minister will do something about it or if he'll roll over. It's a great show.
I got to watch it, yeah. Norwegian movies tend to be great, you know, like the drama is very dramatic, the horror is horrific, and the humor is over the top, you know? So, yeah.
I can guess your favorite Beatles song.
My favorite Beatles song?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. Now you put me on the spot.
Wouldn't happen to be Norwegian wood,
would
is it?
Maybe.
There you go. See? She's a proud loyalist, people. I'm reading her tattoo. It's in Norwegian. It says Norwegian forever.
Paulie's never played that for you, acoustic version, and sang that to you.
He has not.
Paulie McCartney.
Paulie, shame on you.
Paulie McCartney wrote the song.
Yeah, you got to tell him to do that.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney, sing this beautiful Norwegian babe, Norwegian wood. So what'd you get your SAT card on?
I got it on, what was it? It was a internet TV show, and I had one line saying yes.
Thank God. Because
That's
usually,
all it takes, right?
Yeah.
One word.
One word.
Taft Hartley, right there.
Right there. Usually by a model. It's amazing because one of the most painful things is we have a guest or two, and it's a simple question. How'd you get your SAT card? And everybody hems and haws, and I always turn to Jim and go, they don't have their SAT card.
I know. And it used to be much more difficult to get it, but now anybody can produce a SAG production.
You could produce a an ultra low budget, like a $5,000 film, and as new media, right?
Yes.
And you could SAG yourself.
Well, but you know, this is true. But usually it was like, they used to call it the entourage rule, where some poor newbie would get off the bus from Iowa, show her breasts, and have a SAG card. But grandma can't watch Entourage because it's a dark secret for the family. And what happened is, and this is really dirty, Entourage, because they would get these poor girls to strip on, toplessness on camera.
Right.
Entourage, and you'd get Taft Hartley for your family shame. You may kill grandma, but you've got your SAG card.
Right.
And what these bums did in the later seasons of Entourage is they would give you a $200 bump, but not Taft Hartley you, which is totally dirty. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yeah.
So not only did you kill grandma, but you only have $200 to show for your shame.
Yeah, normally that's how it goes. You know?
Grandma, cancel HBO.
Yeah, the movie business, at least when you're starting out, is not as glamorous as people think it is. You know?
Oh yeah, they think it's all just easy and living the dream. It's all red carpet. It's not. It's a hard work.
Yeah, and that you get paid $1 million for nothing. I have an acting page, and I had people email me from all over the world. Oh, please find in your heart to help my family. I'm like, I need help myself. You get paid $100 for a day. Like it's not really that glamorous. And if you get a job, it's hard.
It's weird though. I mean, there was a guy from high school. When I graduated. There was a guy in high school who was always a sad sack, and he always had a sad story. When I did a Burger King commercial, I got this Find it, the find it in your heart letter. It took me a long time to get on Facebook because when I did that, I see you all over in your Burger King commercial and here nothing's worked out for me, blah, blah, blah. And every time I got a commercial, this guy I went to school that would send me the same sad sack letter, like he never sent it earlier. I would get this private message, exact same wording, you know what I mean? I mean, he did it again for the Geico spots. You know, I would get this letter, find it in your heart to throw me a few bucks. You're certainly rolling in it. And it's like, what the hell is this guy doing besides watching for me in TV commercials once in a blue moon? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it was just the weirdest thing. So you get those too.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. But I gotta, it's not what you think it is,
Charity begins in Denmark. But it's just, it's weird, you know what I mean? I mean, well, tell us about producing. Do you like producing? What does it entail?
I love it. This is my first production, and one of the reasons I decided to take destiny in my own hands because
Destiny's this new young actress she discovered. Go on.
Yeah, I decided to take her of it.
She's doing nudity for Taft-Hartley.
So funny. Yeah, I've been auditioning a lot the last couple of years, and I booked some cool jobs. I'm actually in a movie called Rideshare that just came out on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I have Amazon Prime. I was very excited when I was writing questions last night to see you were in that.
Yeah, you need to see it, and it's a great movie. It's about a rideshare driver, and, all kinds of stuff happens to his passengers throughout the night, So that was great, and I've been in quite a few, fun little indie projects, but what I wanted to do with my career, like the role that I wanted to play, I didn't seem to find a way to get to those parts. And now that I'm producing myself, I understand how difficult it is, like just for one part, you can get hundreds and hundreds of submissions.
Wow.
So I decided, and I had a great story based on real events. I mean, of course, in real life, she wasn't a killer, but she was pretty fucking nuts.
Pouring license must be taken.
Yeah.
So I said, this is a buffet of information for a horror movie. This is just so comedic and so crazy. And then I'm not a writer. I know how to write a little bit, but I don't know how to do the screenplays. So I decided to find somebody to write it for me. And we ended up collaborating on the script. And that's my story, and I end up changing it a lot along the way. Paulie helped me a little bit also. A lot of ideas come, And then I sat there with the script and said, let me just produce it. Because these days also, people think that producing movies need a lot more, but you can actually get it done in decent budget. It's just more about story, great actors, good camera, good lighting, and those things. So I decided to create my own film. And now, I'm one of the leads in it. I'm not the killer.
What?
I wish I could. I'd love to play the villain.
Was it just too tiring to be the villainess, or?
No, because the story was based on a person, So she was the villain, so I decided to stick with that, even though she brought crazy out in me also. I'm crazy in the movie myself.
Wow, not bad.
Yeah, and now that I acted it and produced it, I realized, I like producing more than anything. It's a lot of fun. You have an idea in your head, you collaborate with a lot of other intelligent people, and before you know it, there's this product,
Now, how many films have you produced?
This is my first one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you and the director get along? Because sometimes first-time producers and first-time directors butt heads.
Yeah, well, he's not a first-time director. He's done a lot of low-budget horror movies.
Really? What's his name?
David Palmieri.
Wow, David Palmieri.
And he actually works on Lucifer, the TV show, doing lighting.
Really? So he was probably his own DP on this, right?
Yes.
Wow, smart.
He was incredible. It was just him and a sound guy, and he worked so amazing. And I'm sure he got upset with me at times because I was green, but I learned along the way, But totally professional. We got along really well. We were really focused,
But they were really smart. You picked a director who also has DP experience.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And lighting, and in low budget movies, the lighting and the
The
sound.
lighting and the sound will kill. How many low budget? No,
Yes.
if you have Hulu or Netflix, how many low budget horror movies? I actually watched something called Tubi. Do you have Tubi?
No, I don't.
Tubi has all these crap channels, Thriller channel, and you'll have the wind blowing on the boom mic. And they didn't have a mic cover, and you'll hear the dialogue will be really low, and you'll hear like, and it's like, my God, how did you make this movie with that? You know what I mean?
Right. Even though those movies can have a charm also, but absolutely.
No, but if you F with the sound or you F with the picture, you have made a movie. You made text dodge.
Yes, yes. And it's going to be hard with distribution and all those things because those
They're like,
things
what's
have to
wrong
be
with the
ordered.
sound? You got to reloop it. You don't want to resync it or anything. And,
Yeah, because you don't want to watch a movie and then you're coming to a good point and it's like, what happened? This wind. Oh, you know?
Yeah, and the wind keeps blowing, and you realize, oh, it's not because it's horror. It's because they had a really crappy boom operator.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. How long a shoot was it?
That's also another thing. And this is because of the director. Because when you're doing low budget, it's basically because you have to cram it in fewer days. Because each day you add is a whole lot more money, So we did the whole thing in 6 days. Wow. The plan was 5 days, but we ended up doing it one more extra day. And normal is between 10 and 14 days. But
were these like 10-hour days or longer?
12 hours,
12-hour
14,
days?
yeah, which is pretty normal.
Yeah.
And did you do it straight up SAG or SAG ULB?
I did a non-union.
Okay.
I started doing SAG, but you need a lot of insurance, a lot of extra pay, and also there was a dog in the movie, and to me, he's the hero.
Well, yeah.
Did you have to go through? I went to the office there. That's the I forget what it's called. Shit, I was there. Anything?
Oh, for you? You were there? There was an unemployment office.
Anything that
he was also selling blood next door.
Anytime there's animals involved, they got to go through the
ASCPA.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a whole lot more as soon as there's an animal involved. And I just realized, you know what? It's going to be so much extra. But I am SAG. But when you're producing, you're a lot, and you're not paying yourself, obviously, because I'm working on for free on my own project.
So you're a craft service cutting the donuts in half.
I did everything. Oh, that's also what people don't realize. It's not just the producing. When you're doing low budget, you're wearing 10 different hats. You're doing everything. Yeah, so it was insane.
But a lot of responsibility.
A lot of responsibility, but non-union definitely helped a lot. Now, I was very lucky because a lot of times non-union actors are flaky. They're not as professional, not as trained. But I found some really good ones, and especially the lead. I mean, she's the most important person. She nailed it,
Wow, and she's talking with this talented young newcomer she discovered named Elizabeth Steen something or other.
Yeah.
A young girl with a dream willing to do nudity to help a producer out.
Willing to do anything. Actually, it's funny. I have turned down a lot of nudity over the years, but I end up going a little bit semi-nude in my own project.
Well, you have to sell it somehow. You work with what you got.
I figured,
it does sell.
She's like, I would never get naked for any other producer but me.
What happens when? Okay, if you're doing young,
she's also picketing herself as an actress.
I've seen a lot of indie movies with SAG actors. How does that work out? How do you work that out?
FICOR.
Yes, he knows. Yeah, there's actually a deal now where you can do both. You can choose to, but then you cannot vote on movies and stuff like that. But a lot of actors choose to do that because it's a lot of great non-union work out there.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it yourself because the people who do, you'll see a really famous genre names will go FICOR. It's a financial core. They're having trouble, so they go non-union and they don't stop working. But when you go FICOR, it's telling SAG, I'll be back. Things are tough. I'm going to do this for a while. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And once you're a FICOR, you can never go back to being full member.
Really?
You choose to do that for life, basically.
Oh my God, I never knew that.
Yeah, personally, I will not do it.
Me neither.
But if I'm making my own non-union projects, then, I can be in them, So, but I personally don't think it's worth it, but a lot of actors do that.
And they're big names and people want them. And if the budget, if you go FICOR, I didn't realize that you can never go full membership again.
Yeah.
Wow. Because one of the great things
that means full membership with all the benefits.
Yeah, because like here's the great thing about SAG: if you pay your dues in October when they're due, last week in November, first week in December, you start getting Academy nominated screeners.
It's wonderful.
I mean, I had a copy of Shape of Water before it was even in
And your
theaters.
brother never.
Yeah.
But
He did. He found it. I have a copy.
we never got to watch it, and it's already on
They are
DVD now.
very strict on not lending it out. I think even they have a code on it and stuff.
Some moron sold a bunch of his movies to Amoeba, and I heard he got in a lot of SAG trouble over it.
Oh God! So maybe that's where the law came through.
Yeah,
or
because some
something,
moron will always take the movie down to Amoeba, you know.
There's always a moron rooting in something, creating a law for something.
Because this is one of the things that made Harvey Weinstein is everybody when Crash came out, that Crash was the first movie where everybody in the Academy was sent a copy. Everybody in the Screen Actors Guild was sent a copy of Crash. Coincidentally, the only movie they saw that year was Crash. Because they knew everybody would watch a movie that was about in theaters when it came in the mail. And Weinstein was one of those guys who made sure that whatever movie he was trying to get an Oscar for went to every member of SAG. So they'd all seen the movie, so they all voted for the movie. And that was one of the things that established him as a kingmaker because he was able to get everyone a copy of that movie, so everyone voted for it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's amazing because that's all it took. Everyone got a copy of The Dark Knight. And Heath Ledger posthumously became the first actor to win the Academy Award for a comic book movie. Nobody had even been nominated for a comic book movie since Al Pacino was nominated for Big Boy Caprice in 1990.
Yeah.
And then once he did this, now everybody sends out screeners. The only one who won't, Tarantino won't. You'll get a code where you can, or a pass to see it. Tarantino will not allow his movies to be sent for free.
Really?
Yeah. So Weinstein would send every other movie out, but you would never get the new Tarantino.
Wow. Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
But, I can't resist getting my Academy screeners. I mean, I can't. I could never go FICOR if it meant you wouldn't get your copies.
It is a nice time of year, and you get so many. It's just like, wow,
And you're picking and choosing which ones you'll watch,
Yeah, and you feel kind of good when everyone's like, oh, I look forward to seeing this and that movie when it comes out. And you're like, yeah, I already saw it.
Yeah. Bring pizza and I'll put on I, Tanya. But it's amazing. I mean, and usually... And it got so obtuse that the first screeners, you would start to see the Oscars going to the first screeners that arrived. You know what I mean? Because people, obviously, the ballots had arrived and the movie arrived. And it was coincidentally the only one you'd see. So SAG, I knew a couple SAG winners were the first movies that arrived in the mail, which is kind of amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
You love your screeners, don't you?
Love them.
And
it was a nice feeling becoming a SAG member. I had a teacher in New York. I studied there. She said, don't join until you really have to because it's better you get great parts in non-union and then later on you can get your one-liners in SAG, because chances that you're going to get a huge leading role in the SAG movie right off the bat is very small, So I waited a long time. And so when I got it, I felt I paid my dues. When I got it, it was expensive too. I mean, an arm and a leg, like $3,500.
My brother.
Yeah, I remember when it was 2000 when I was AGVA for American Guild of Variety Artists, and Phyllis Diller was the president at that time. And
Phyllis Diller was the president of AGVA?
AGVA, American Guild of Variety Artists.
Well, that's where the guy who plays Harry and the
So
Hendersons
if you're
can
in
join
that for
SAG,
6 months, you automatically qualify for SAG. But then it was like 2000 back then.
You should have joined Imhotep.
I know.
He was Imhotep and Shrek, and he could have joined.
And I was AGVA, and I just like, So now it's with two. If you get 3 vouchers, you're under a certain amount of time, and you have to join, right?
It's a ticking clock situation.
It's a ticking clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't join, you're back to ground zero.
So how if it goes 2 years? What if it goes 2 years on eligibility? Is that okay?
That's an excellent question. I haven't looked at the rules.
I should look into that because it's been 2 years since I had my 2 vouchers.
I don't know. I think I know some people. I feel like they've been eligible forever. I think it's more. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
I think there's. I think that my brother.
We have to go over 6 or 10, 8 years or
there's
something.
like a time. There's a window for you to join with the third one. You know what I mean? I mean,
that I know that's the series. Like, okay, you got this time. You have to join now.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can't be, well, Ash Line was in Gone with the Wind.
But I do have all kinds of finance plans. I mean, obviously actors are the most struggling people.
Is that interest?
Finance,
Let's say, okay, it's what, 3,300 now or something?
35? Yeah, 33.
And so, like, okay, well, I've only got $1,000 to put. I mean, they'll make you could make your payment.
Yeah, you can do down payment.
It'll cost you more, though, right?
I joined in the Wild 90s. I joined in the Wild 90s, and I remember for thinking, where am I going to get $900?
900. Oh my God!
And my brother goes. My late great brother Tom goes here, and he gave him the money, and you make it back fast because you book one commercial right after your card, and it's great. You know what I mean?
You get those residuals.
Yeah, the residuals are really, really nice. The first 3 months of residuals, and you know what I mean? I mean, the great thing is you just got to keep knocking around and seeing what's out there, and you got to persevere.
You got to. And you never know when there's going to be a part right for you. And a lot of actors think, oh, you have to be a certain way. You look, so no, you have to be yourself because you are you. And that's what's going to sell you, And honestly, even in my own movie, I went for the quirky types instead of the stereotypical Hollywood types because I find them more interesting, I like personality a little bit offbeat, and certainly there's a lot of that in my movie.
But on a 6-day shoot, what is as a producer actress, what is running through your head? Because speaking of ticking clocks, you have 6 days until the money runs out. You know what I mean? I mean, is that terrifying? Is that exciting?
It was even worse because I had extra funds in case, and I wanted to extend it once I got started. But the director, he had to go to New York, and he says, no, we're doing it 5 days. We will add one more day, but that's it. I got to go.
Wow.
But we are doing it. But what I did, and that's also, I have a lot of theater training from New York. I've always been big on studying your craft.
Who was your acting teacher in New York, by the way?
I had different ones. I went to William Esper Studio for 2.5 years.
Uh-huh.
Then Penny Templeton for a couple of years.
Any Sylvia Faye?
No, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also here in LA, I studied at Ivana Chubbuck a little bit.
You studied with Chubbuck?
Yes.
Wow.
Very similar to the technique I studied in New York. I also studied a class which did Harold Guskin approach, which is more like improvisation, being in the moment.
So less Meisner technique and more...
Yeah, I started with Meisner, but at the end, when you study all these different techniques, and I studied a little bit of method also, you end up just like, whatever works in the moment, you end up just like pulling, like maybe one moment is Meisner, maybe another one you use real life experience, and this movie is based on a lot of real life, so I had it there.
Throw in a little bit of sense memory.
A lot of sense memory. But what I think was most important for me, knowing I had so much the time pressure, I started pre-production early January, and I focused 24/7 to have everything in order. And the most important thing for me was the acting. So, and because I studied so much, I rehearsed with each actor privately.
Really? Smart.
For months. And the lead especially. Now,
So you workshopped it with her?
Yes.
Wow.
So in a way, I directed it also because by the time we were shooting, the director said, whatever happens, happens. And I was like, well, I'm not going to risk bad acting.
Yeah.
Because that's the most important thing, So I rehearsed a lot, especially with the lead and the other main characters, but everybody. I drilled them. And
I was going to tell you, drilled it into them, huh? Wow.
Yes. So because that way, when we shot, it went pretty fast, That was the most important thing. But then there were also... What was the most difficult part was the set design, the clothing, and making sure like continuation. Like I had to be on top of everything.
Props.
Yes. It was a lot.
No, in 6 days, there's always a nightmare. Did you have to let anybody go? And why?
No, I did not.
Good.
And also, I'm a little bit of a nice person also. So, I mean, there was definitely times when I was doing rehearsal, I was like, maybe this wasn't the right one. And then you see other actors come approaching you. But I decided, my intuition or for whatever reason I casted people, I did it for a reason. And especially with the lead main characters, I really, really... I took a long time finding them, and also had an open mind. Like I was supposed to have a lesbian couple in the movie, and I found this girl, but then I was like, you know what? But she'd be perfect with this male actor now, who's very quirky and interesting and very talented. So I turned into a couple instead. So I was open to change things along the way, also.
But a lesbian couple, you're way out to make your money back. A hot lesbian couple is always a good component lesbian and a little bunch of horror.
Yeah, but it didn't turn like that. Everybody was really good. Everybody, nothing wrong happened from the actor side.
You said only, which means something happened. What happened? You smiled and then climbed up.
Well, one person fell asleep.
During a scene?
No, he did a scene, and then he was shooting another scene a little bit later, and he fell asleep, and all of a sudden we're hearing snoring. And I'm like, what happened? And he fell asleep in my bed. I'm like, dude, you don't fall asleep in the producer's bed and snore, so we got to cut, and then he fell asleep again. But, it was just small things like that. And also on independent films, sometimes non-union, the actors are pretty new. It's the first feature. So even though they have a huge part in the project, but then they like to play producers themselves. So a few times I had to put my foot down and say, listen, it's my project. Even if I ask you to dress like a clown and do hula hoops, you have to do it because you're hired to do what I say, And I'm not.
That's weirdly hot. Were you wearing a German outfit when you told them this?
Yeah, I often done movies where I thought maybe something was a little bit weird or whatever. But
did you use a riding crop?
I did have a fun moment though. On April 1st, one of the actors, he's like, my call time is 1. I'm in San Diego. I thought it was 7. I was like, what the hell? And then actually he ended up saying April's Fool. So then he came and I spanked him a little bit in the garage. I was like, you bad boy. You scared the hell out of me. I did not have time for that. But it was good.
That's terrible.
He's a good friend though, so he took the spanking well.
Would you use him again after that?
Absolutely.
Wow.
He nailed it. He's actually a filmmaker of rideshare. And he's a very talented actor. And he had a very small part in his own movie, but tiny. But I thought he was fantastic. And I was like, how come you don't act more? And I'm like, no, I've always been acting, but I want to produce and direct. But I'm like, well, I would love to have you as an actor in my movie if you can do the audition. And he nailed it first take,
There was a great producer who passed away last year, Peter McGregor Scott, who produced The Fugitive and he produced the Batman movies. And he was telling me this great story where he was shooting something in Africa and the actor fell out. The actor playing the bad guy fell out. So it was called Tiger by the Tail or something. So he played the bad guy with his English accent and everything. And what he did is he goes, I wasn't going to remember all those lines, Patrick. So what I did is I got these sunglasses. And when you come across this piece of crap, which he made sure got made, he said there was no time to recast. He just stepped in for the bad guy, and he's in dark sunglasses throughout the movie, which works for the movie because he just looks sneering.
Right, but that was luck, kind of, in a way. And, I spoke to one of the actors a lot of producers were actually actors on board in my film.
Really?
But I learned a lot. Again, this is my first movie, and if I would have known better.
As a producer?
Yes, I would have definitely had more time in case, because what happened to him, one of the actors decided to quit halfway through. After they had done the major scenes, and they had to reshoot the whole thing and recast it, and twice the budget, obviously, and twice the time. But those things can happen. People, one of my good friends who's also a producer, she was supposed to play the hot blonde in my movie, and unfortunately, she had a punctured lung.
Really?
2 weeks before, and she was going to be the scream queen. So I had to recast last minute, and she said,
"Did you find a talented?
You need those lungs to scream, man."
Did you find a talented Norwegian?
I found a very pretty, very good actress, and even for her part, there were hundreds of applications. I said, I'm going to go for a really hot one, but I ended up going for the best actress. But she is gorgeous also. But but that happened last minute, and then you have all the stress, all these things going on, and then you got to just put everything on hold and recast. So it was a lot of long hours, and there's more work behind the scenes than people realize. But I still think the energy of that will come through in the final, piece.
Now, what is the title again of your movie?
Heart of the Home.
Heart of the Home. And what's the home? What's the log line, Elizabeth? If we saw this in TV Guide, what would it say?
It would say, be careful who you invite into your home.
Wow.
It's a living home. And actually, I will tell you the real story.
Please.
I moved to LA, and I couldn't really even afford it in the beginning. I didn't find it. It was hard to find a survival job in LA. In New York, there are bars on each corner. LA is more little. People don't go out the same way as they do in New York, and there's so many performers here, so it's hard to find jobs. Anyhow, so I moved into this little Japanese apartment, And because I had very few roommates in New York, but I did have some Japanese at one point, and they were amazing. They pay on time, they clean, and they don't ask any personal questions. Exactly what I'm looking for, right? So I found like this apartment with Japanese people looking for a roommate. Now, at first, they almost didn't want me because they want to keep the Japanese tradition going. Sure. But I said, you know what, but they ended up letting me stay. And then one person moved out. And we tried to get some other people, and in the end, I was the one who said yes to this woman, and I was a little bit ignorant. So yeah, she looked sweet, another cute little Japanese girl, and she was not cute for very long. And then by law, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, when you get roommates, if you move in without a contract, you're a squatter.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of them. It's harder to get rid of a squatter than somebody who's on the lease.
That happened to me back in the 90s.
Jeff was a squatter.
And they couldn't get rid of him.
I tried to. I had this situation where she was. I said, "You got to go, man."
They turned off his water. He started pooping in coffee cans.
I kicked her out. I put her stuff out. She was being real vicious, man, and. If you live there as a guest for over 2 weeks, they're considered a permanent residence, and you have to evict them.
Yeah, you have to.
I had to do evict them, so she couldn't leave. And here you're bumping heads and
the legal paperwork and everything else.
Now it's become your enemy, and you legally they have the right to key. You can't lock them out, and it's like there's nothing I could do until that eviction goes into action.
We had a friend who did that, who went south, and the legalese and everything else was just a nightmare,
It is. And, and here I find myself in this tiny apartment with roommates from another continent, and one is just turning crazy on me, and I'm like, and I told her, listen, I didn't say it nicely. I said it kind of crazy, and it's in the movie too. I said, I'm living here to save money and have inner peace, okay? That's all I'm asking for. And you come here and say to terrorize me and the other roommate? I don't think so. Like, seriously. But we can't argue with mental illness.
No.
You just can't.
And she presented well when she moved in, you said. So you guys said no.
She was so sweet, but it didn't take long before it went south. And it was more that crazy obsessive behavior. Like, it was a cold day, I turned the heat on before I went to work. I ended up getting 41 messages about how come you're turning heat on. In Japan, we put on more clothes. I'm like, well, you're in America, in my home, I turn on the heat. I'm not there right now, okay? And I don't like people to invade my space and start talking to me like that, But then it went more and more and just escalated. And I was like, dude, this is just crazy. And then in the end, it got so bad. She didn't like this little chihuahua that lived on the floor. And
as a chihuahua owner, this disturbs me. Go on.
and then she texted the landlord also hundreds of messages saying that me and Elizabeth, we are afraid of the dog. I said, dude, I'm not afraid of any dog,
She went after the chihuahua?
Yes, and then she blamed everything on the wrong person. He almost got evicted because the landlord thought he had a dog that he didn't have and didn't register and whatever. Anyways, it was just so much melodrama the whole way. And then she started like blowing up, and I blew up right back. And then she's like, I'm calling immigration on you. I'm like, go right ahead. What are they going to say?
No, you're one of those immigrants I don't think anyone would want to throw out.
If you were Canadian, you'd be gone, right?
You would be gone.
Right,
Your ass would be on its way back to Toronto.
I know. I did become a citizen last year, actually.
Congratulations.
Yes.
All right.
And you know what it is? Thank you so much, because also these days you don't know, But anyways, the living situation, I think this is very realistic, because people blindly invite people to rent these little rooms here and there, and then before you know it, you're stuck with madness. And it was very funny. I met this woman, and she said, really? You're making a movie about a crazy Japanese roommate? Thank God, because I had a Japanese roommate who tried to poison me. I'm like, what?
Wow.
But, I mean, of course.
I've seen that in many movies where the Japanese woman tries to poison the roommate.
So, but the funny thing about this movie is it's a big Japanese cast, and I really enjoyed working with them. They're so professional, such hardworking people, and also I will probably try to do a big premiere in Japan and all that stuff,
Wow.
But of course, in real life, she wasn't a killer or whatever. But what did happen in real life, it got so bad that I ended up leaving my own apartment for a month. Wow. And my girlfriend in New York called me, and she giggled. She's like, Liz, you know what? You might want to Google your roommates. She was on a $10,000 bail for beating up her ex-husband.
Were you able to use that to get rid of her? Were you able to use her going to jail to get rid of her? Or?
No.
How did you get rid of her? Or is she still
actually,
there?
the landlord came to the rescue. He pretended because of all the dog drama, because his phone was blown up.
Sure.
He didn't want to have that in his building, and he decided to evict all of us. And so she had to move, and I ended up, of course, moving back.
Because it's your place. Wow.
Yes.
Really
But she
smart.
knew that happened, and there was another Japanese roommate there also, with 3 of us living there. And as soon as I left, she started terrorizing her also.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the end of the day, she was crazy, but she barked a lot. She was afraid of going out after the dark, and I'm obviously not. I'll challenge you to go down a dark alley with me. I'm from Norway.
Wow.
So she was more like, it was just craziness, But I showed her very clearly that you're not the only one who has madness in you, okay?
Wow.
So please, why don't you move? And we got rid of her finally.
You were going to go totally let the right one in on her. Wow.
So, of course, it's not necessarily nice to make a bad movie based on someone, and it's like you can't, mental illness is not a laughing matter, but there's always reality, and there's always fun with movies that are based on, real events,
But it's fuel because you lived through it, so you know what it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was a lot of comedy in it. So there's a lot of these quirky things that's happening throughout the movie, which happened. Like one day I came home, I'll give one scene away, and she has big headphones on, like we have now, plugged into nothing. But she thought I was very loud. She's like, your apartment was supposed to be quiet. It is loud. Everything was wrong. She's like, you promised. I'm like, I'm thinking, well, yeah, I'm not blasting AC/DC at 4 a.m. It's quiet, But she's like, you talk in the kitchen loud. You should go to your bedroom. And I'm like, oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, it was that point, And I was talking during the day. I'm like, you know what? This is just getting annoying. If I can't be on the phone in my own apartment during the day.
Yeah.
And then she tried to demonstrate that she was annoyed by just walking around with big headphones and not saying a word. Plugged into nothing. I'm like, come on, So
it's like the people who pretend, you'll see people try and fight with somebody over like smoking. I don't smoke, but you'll see if somebody lights up waiting for the train, there'll be someone who'll always start waving their hand even though they're not near, and they go, and like, screw you.
Exactly. And it's the way I look upon it, if you're moving into a place, you have to respect that person's space. If it doesn't work for you, you can always move out,
Right.
But this is a very realistic story in that sense that be careful with your roommates.
Yes, but you go to Japan and I always see it on YouTube and stuff about the tiny apartment living spaces that are like closets, and the kid hardly walk around and you got 3 people living there. I'm going like in a room that's smaller than this studio right here.
Yeah, and this apartment was set up in that way. Kind of. It was very small, but we paid literally nothing. And in LA, like rent is expensive.
Oh yeah.
So I said, for a while this can work. Whatever. I'm just here to sleep and do my thing and.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing like that. I mean, the crazy roommate is such a metaphor. You know what I mean? I mean, I knew this one woman who. She had a roommate for like a week and got rid of her, but she was obsessed with that roommate, and she kept following her around on Facebook and all this other stuff, telling
single white female kind of thing.
Yeah, she was obsessed with her, talking about her all the time, even though she was no longer around, and it was just weird.
Yeah, it's strange. People there's a lot of crazy birds out there,
And you don't know that. You don't know that until they're in your orbit, which is really interesting.
Yes. So that's why, and I know there's been a lot of movie made with this topic, but
but there's a reason.
There's a reason for it.
The single white female paradigm has been with us for 20-some years. I mean, because it works,
Yeah, totally. So, and I think the whole cultural thing is very fun. There's a lot of accents obviously in this movie. I have an accent all the Japanese people have, and it's. So it's entertaining and funny, but also then again, she's a killer, and crazy. So it's a combination of horror and comedy,
As a low budget producer, what do you find is the easiest to sell at an AFM type event? Like horror, comedy, what?
That's also another reason why I decided horror.
Smart.
Because to make a good, and also, I think it's entertaining. I love horror and I love also comedy, but I want to entertain people. I don't care about winning festivals. Today there's a million festivals about best actress, best producer. I don't care about that. I want you someone in Japan, someone in Russia, someone in China to watch this movie say, wow, this is entertaining. I want to go to the bathroom. I want to watch this, you know?
By the way,
Yeah, so that's more what I wanted. But there's a huge market for low-budget horror. They have many followers, not only in America, all over the world. You know, so for some reason, horror works when it's crappy. Like, look at Blair Witch Project. Nothing really happened. It's a handheld camera, but we all were glued to it. And it made $200 million or whatever.
By the way, you're right. It was the highest grossing low budget film in history. I mean, it was made for less than 10,000.
Then it becomes a cult film.
Exactly that, and also Paranormal Activities. That one also, and that's the guy who ended up making Insidious, I think.
Yeah, in fact, Blumhouse, Jason Blum. One of the by the way, you know what he's doing? He landed the rights to Five Nights at Freddy's. Really? I've got a 7 and a 9-year-old nephews who are obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's. You know, Jason.
Now, does that start from a video game?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, at Christmas, the 7-year-old nephew was 6 then. And he's like, Uncle Pat, Five Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's. And I kept thinking, what is this? And I asked them the same way I asked you to describe Home is Where the Heart Is. And my 9-year-old nephew goes, it's basically a Chuck E. Cheese that was closed down. It's Westworld. And the robots went crazy, and they're still walking around in this abandoned building. Yeah. You know, it's like a bear and a duck and all that. It's a Chuck E. Cheese when the robots are walking around killing people, which is actually kind of brilliant. You know?
Yes, that's brilliant.
And they were breathless about it. I instead of Star Wars or superheroes, I got them a bunch of Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. I remember my youngest nephew, I got him and his brother the shirts. And it's a cold day at Christmas, and he's tearing off his shirt like the Wolfman to throw the new shirt on. And I mean, that sort of brand loyalty is what you want to find. Horror is one of those genres that never goes out of style.
Never. And there's all kinds of horror. There's the gore, there's the suspense, there's everything, you know? My movie, I mean, I personally love suspense, but this movie has definitely more like comedy and more dialogue. But it's a big market for that also, you know? People want to watch that, you know?
And I mean, like you said, there's several kinds of invasion movies. You can do a version of The Purge. You can do a version of The Strangers. You can do, and there's any number of ideas. And like on this, how many locations did you have?
Okay, that's also again part of the whole low budget thing. And also, it was mostly placed in one apartment. So
Smart girl, self-contained. Self-contained, a good producer. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, because I look upon it, you start small. Quentin Tarantino, he started small. You start small with what you can have, what you have.
Reservoir Dogs only takes place in like 3 places.
Right. And then, later on, if this movie takes off, or if this movie only even becomes decent, I can get maybe investors for another bigger one. But I start with what I have. I don't want to go overboard. So
that's really smart.
And also, it was all in one apartment, So it's all based in one apartment and one scene in another house, for we shot one day.
But that's like Paranormal Activity, where Oren Pay, the director, he shot it all in his house on the way to San Diego. I think he was in Rancho Bernardo on the way to Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. And that camera, again, that broke the Blair Witch record. It was cheaper than Blair Witch, and it made more money than Blair Witch.
Wow.
And he shot it with a rented camera. And instead of holding on to the camera, which would, clearly be something the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences would want, he returned it. He shot the movie with it. So this landmark camera, they shot the highest grossing low budget horror film on.
He got his money back.
It went right back.
Wow. Yes. You could sell the camera, buy the camera, and sell the camera after, or just rent it, depending on how long you're going to be filming.
These days, and I mean, I didn't do it, but it was even up for consideration. You can even shoot on your phone. If you have a good iPhone.
Just don't tell anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people shoot stuff and the quality can become good.
And all the attachments and the motorized zoom and tilt and rotation that you could put right on your iPhone. And, you got your little steering wheel thing you could use, and you don't have to have like the big red camera with a steady cam, and
it's never been easier to make a movie, you guys.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And you know what? I went to a workshop with one acting coach, and he said the same thing. There's never been a better time to be a performer in general, because there's no excuse now. and it's like with this part, like I wanted to show, you know, a little bit of, you know, all the sides that I wanted to show in a movie I got to do, you know? And actually now I'm over myself. I acted enough, you know? Like, so now I'm thinking producing is actually more fun. I mean, I have a small part in my own movie, but I have no need to be a lead anymore. And it's also very difficult to wear all these hats, you know? You're supposed to cry, and then some people ask you, hey, can I have the key to the front door, you know?
Yeah.
Snapping out of it, you know?
You're trying to do a sad reaction, and you're, wait, when's lunch?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
But I think that anything is possible. You know, you can make your own thing, and don't let anybody say you can't, because you're doing it for yourself for whatever reason. And some people I know, they invest a lot of money in movies, and we never hear about them anyway. They don't go anywhere. So it's not even about how much money you put in. Yes, the production gets a little bit better, but at the end of the day, it's about the acting, the content, you know, like I said, the lighting and the sound, those few things, you know, and just to entertain people. We want to be entertained.
No. Did you take Homes Where the Heart Is to the American film market?
Heart of the Home.
That's why I couldn't find it.
Well, not yet.
It's right here. I got it right here.
Heart is the home. Okay, hold on.
Heart of the Home. Yeah, well, I'm just started the post-production.
Heart of the Home, post-production.
Yes. So
I kept putting Home is Where the Heart Is.
Well, there's some movies that have been made with that title, and actually I was thinking about using that title at first, but very nice thing that happened. My mom passed away.
I'm sorry, that's not a nice thing, by the way.
No, that's not a nice thing. But she always nagged me to get this calendar, Heart of the Home, and I was thinking about a title. I was like, and then that title came to my head. I'm like, wow, that's nice, you know. So
it's an homage to your late great mom.
Yeah. So that was cute, you know. But we're in post-production and just started the editing, the rough cuts, and it's going to be probably another 2-3 months before the product is fully finished, and then I will start taking it out everywhere. And, you know, and also I think for actors or performers, it's good to do your own projects, because then you can get a better agency also, because then I can go to agents and say, hey, I just produced my own movie. So and so many people watched it, people like it, and then you bump yourself up to the next level with it.
Exactly. What would you do for the next one? Are you going to stick? Are you going to stick with horror?
Yeah, I love horror, and actually, I have a couple of other ideas for horror.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it first, getting this out, and you know, and see where this goes. But now that I started, I realize, you know, there's so many more other things I would like to do. You know, like, yeah. I like the whole comedy horror, but also I want to do one that's just suspense and, you know, like terror, you know?
Well, so and I mean, once this is out, you having a chance to move it up a bit. You know what I mean?
A lot.
Wow.
And I got to say one thing also, like, just my own self-worth, my own feeling, how I carry myself, how I feel about myself has changed, because I have done something now, you know? And
you've actually produced a real movie.
Yeah, I mean, and full feature, you know? Like,
how did that feel? I mean, when you dragged yourself across the finish line on the last day of inserts or whatever, how did you feel knowing you had a film in the can ready to be edited?
First of all, I was so exhausted. I slept for days.
Wow.
And it was like coming off a roller coaster ride. I was like, what happened, you know?
Like a 4-day drunk.
Yes. I was like, dude, I am so tired. I can't even breathe. But I felt really good. I was like, wow, I did something. And again, if I did it, then anybody could do it. And now also, what is so cool is that, you know, you learn so much along the way. And now I'm also learning how to edit. I decided I want to be such a big part of it, so I'm doing the rough cuts now myself, and it's, you know, and it's actually easy. So I will be doing half of the editing work myself, and I went to look for editors. They charge up to $10,000.
Oh my gosh! You know, I did a little film. I got that software installed in my laptop right here.
Yeah.
And I made this video, but I really didn't. It looked simple, but I just don't have time to learn, or I just won't take, you know, I suppose I should, but there's these kids in school, I had some 14-year-old kid do this great job, and he just went, and camera roll, you want a B-roll, he's hooking up the music and the editing. I'm going, wow, this is cool.
You can do it all at the same time. I'm still learning, but also, you know, the library in LA teaches free editing classes. I haven't taken them. But
really?
That's what I want to do.
SAG?
Maybe some editing classes.
There are things out there. You just don't know about it. And always you think, oh, I can't do it. I can do it. But after producing this movie, I realized, no, I can do anything I want. I got to learn. It might take longer. Because also when you have your own project or your own business, it doesn't have to be a movie. Nobody's going to care as much about it as you do.
Yeah, it's your baby.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah. You know, like a lot of editors will probably just chop it together and get a movie. But if you really want to get it done well and like, you know, put it, it has to be you, you know.
Wow.
It's like painting, you know. You're starting out with one stroke and then turns into something, you know.
What's funny is you started Hard as the Home as an actress. And you ended it as a producer. I sense you. What you want to do now is produce.
Yeah, I love it. And again, also this, I didn't write it down, but the story is mine. The whole thing. I recorded the whole story on my phone for her. And then I rewrote and rewrote. I spent hours rewriting. I mean, and changing the script. The script kept changing also up until last minute. So
Really?
yeah. And I just love the whole process. From having an idea in your head to executing it and actually
That's filmmaking in a nutshell, by the way. You had an idea in your head and you put it on screen.
Yeah, and it's a long process. But again, David, the director, he said you can do 1 month of pre-production, or you can do 3 months or 6 months. It's up to you how much work you want to put in it.
Wow.
So I put 3 months and I worked 24/7. I couldn't focus on anything else. And yeah, it was a really good feeling when it was done, you know?
Interesting. I mean, because again, it's based on something that happened to you. You know what I mean? Which like Single White Female or Fatal Attraction, it comes out of a real incident in your life. You're able to put it on screen and it has an impact.
Yes,
you know?
well, hopefully it will, you know. And I said, if nothing else, I'm doing it for myself and for my family, and I'm sure my friends will get a good laugh. And I'm sure there'll be some people here and they'll be like, "Oh my God, chick is crazy," you know, and it's fun, you know. And again, also when you're making a project, when you're putting in your money, because it's about money too, and people put in their own money into something, they tend to care a lot more, right? So it's not a big budget, but I still put in what I had, you know? And so I didn't let any stone unturned. I was like, I'm going to be on top of everything because it's my project, you know?
And what I'm like, I'm looking at Elizabeth, I'm looking at it right now. You know what I mean? I mean, that you found a director who could also do a lot of the cinematography. You know what I mean?
Yes. He was a cinematographer for sure. And he was great. And like I said, and also the lighting, the setup. I was very happy when I looked at the footage. And again, we went so quick that we didn't even have time to stop and take a look at the footage.
Wow.
We just had to trust the process, you know?
But wow. Yeah, and I mean, look at the guy's credits. He worked on Seeking a Friend at the End of the World and everything else.
Yeah, no, he's very good. And I got to say, I worked on so many sets. He is the most focused person I worked with. A few weeks before that, I shot a short film, which is probably not going to go anywhere, but we shot for, I think it was a night shoot from 2 a.m. till 9 a.m. We shot 3 pages of dialogue.
Wow.
Whereas him and we went through a script of 60 pages, you know, and the first day, I think we did 20-something pages of dialogue. We did all the dialogue.
Really?
We jammed through it. You know, he was so focused. If he had 5 minutes down and it wasn't lunchtime, he would shoot an insertion or do something. He didn't let 1 minute go to waste.
But he directed 200 episodes. I mean, he worked on as a grip on 200 episodes of CSI. I mean, you look at that, that's pretty impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he's definitely very good. I was very fortunate that I got introduced to him and I decided to go with him. He's a very pleasant person also, you know, and when I met him, I knew way less than at the end of the shoot, obviously, so I decided to trust him, you know, that it would get done.
And that's exciting. I mean, okay, let's talk about this, Elizabeth. What did you learn about yourself as a producer? That's something else. Friends who produced, they come out of it like a war. You either come out of it embittered by the whole experience or you come out raring to go on your next one. Talk about that.
Well, I'm not going to lie. When I was done, I felt like I was done. I'm like, I'm done acting. I'm freaking done producing. I don't want to have responsibility for anything else in my life again, you know? I'm done. And I needed 1 month not to even think about the movie.
Wow.
And I didn't actually, this past month, I started getting ready, but then I had visitors coming from Norway, and I decided just to take a little more time off. And now I'm ready to go to the next phase. But it was so overwhelming. And a lot of filmmakers I talk to, they say the same thing. They just need time out afterwards, even though it's your project, because you're just so exhausted.
Yeah.
But once the film's in the can, you got, you're again, to use the metaphor we're using for the episode, you have a ticking clock. Elizabeth, you finished your movie. I mean, and the editing room is like a different movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you got your engineers but you got to look over their shoulder like I'm not. I could point and tell what I want, and then somebody else is doing the work. I mean, the post production that's a big deal. I mean, that's what makes your movie.
Absolutely. So now my boyfriend Paulie, he's done his edited his music videos his whole life. He's a very talented singer. You'll talk to him a little bit later.
Is he doing the
Paulie's gonna call it. I told him to call in at 8:45. And then we could talk about the soundtrack.
Is he doing the music for it?
He's doing the music.
Smart.
And we're doing the rough cut editing together. We're just right now we're just chopping off what the director says, action and cut, which is actually half of the footage, and I get to look through everything. And the next step will then to be, and also now I learn how to do that by myself anyhow. And,
are you keeping all the short ends to use in your next movie?
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun behind the scenes bloopers. Like, what was it? Something I said. I was going to say guilty by association, and instead I said, don't associate by guilt me or something. It was like lost in translation. I'm like, we'll have that behind the scenes, and I kept saying it over and over. I just couldn't get it right, I was so tired also. But yes, I'm learning how to do the basic stuff, and then it will be the next thing. He will do the music, and then you have to color correction, and then, and then you just keep... changing, because like you have one scene, but you have 6 takes or 8 takes, and then you're going to find the best moment and put it together. It's very interesting. But now I can relax because now no time pressure.
That's right.
So much time pressure. We had 6 days to shoot this. You better do it. And it was very crazy, but I'm very proud. I'm very happy with what I did. And what I'm most proud of was that I was able somehow to act at the same time. Because acting is a very internal thing. As producer,
acting is reacting.
Yes, and producing, you have to be out there. So it was like the contrast was very, very difficult, and I ended up doing a lot of improv within my own lines, because I didn't have time to really sit down and rehearse them properly. But of course, I know it's my story,
Right.
But yeah, so I felt, so like you said, like how I felt afterwards, it was a combination of feeling really proud and really confident and really good about myself, At the same time, I was like, screw this. I'm done. I'm so done.
Wow.
But at least now the need to go on audition after audition, hustling these tiny little parts, I'm over it,
Wow.
Yes,
so you're not going at beautiful girl in bank scene, that sort of thing? Or?
Not for now, no. It's more like I want to do this. Maybe if I get a much better agent, I can go on better things. But now I'm going to enjoy the next step. Like, it was so funny. First, it was the creative part. Then it was the producer part. Now it's the, the very private, like, editing and the focus. But then I think I'll be ready for the showbiz part, which is what I'm doing now. This is my first interview for the
By the way,
movie.
we are honored. Thank you.
Yeah, do radio shows, magazines and all that stuff, and I want to promote it heavily in the States, but also in Norway, because there are very few Norwegian filmmakers.
There are.
Especially females, yes, because there's not a lot of people. There's not a lot of us, And then also in Japan, we'll see what happens, but that's...
So you're betting that your next one will be an abominable snowman movie, I'm guessing.
I haven't seen a lot of horror from Norway recently, but I remember growing up, they had some.
What's your favorite Norwegian horror film in the world's smallest genre?
Oh my God, I don't even know if there is anyone, at this point. There are a couple, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen anyone. I just remember being a kid and watching all this, like, they had Easter crime and murders. It was scary as hell. Dolls crying and, like, eerie music. I was like, whoa, it was really, like, hardcore, There's some really good Norwegian movies out there, absolutely. So
Name 2, smartass. Name 2.
Movies?
Yes, 2 great Norwegian movies.
Well, I saw one when I went back for Christmas. It was amazing, called The 12th Man. It was a screen in Hollywood. I think it's going to be out pretty soon, worldwide. Amazing. And it's based on a real story about a guy from the war. They were like these people, working against the Nazis. And out of 12, 1 survived. And
Really?
It's about him, and he jumped in the water to survive. And then later on, the Germans tested this. They tried to jump in the water himself, and they couldn't stand it for like more than a few minutes. He stayed there for like, and then he swam like for an hour or something. And then it was about his journey back to Sweden and how he was tortured and how strong he was and how the loyalty of the people, how they saved him along the way. They fed him, they cleaned his wounds, and the loyalty of the country. I'm actually getting emotional. And when I saw it, I was very proud. I was like, wow, this is what life is about. We get caught up in these small, silly things and see real stuff and how people, and it wasn't even like he had any information that anyone knew. It was a principle that the Germans were not going to get him. He was going to survive. And at the end of the movie, I'm giving away another movie, they timed to a sledge with reindeers and they run over in a flock to Sweden. And that's how he got through.
Wow.
He was awarded later. It's an amazing movie. Amazing. Then I saw another movie called, since you asked me for two, I think it was August 12th or something. It's about an addict and his journey, how like people try to save his soul, but nobody can get to him. And we see him from the inside. And he doesn't even cry. And sometimes that, I think, is one moment where he cries. And that's also more painful. We see this guy is tortured and he can't even express it. And at the end, he commits suicide. Which is
that's a Norwegian movie, all right.
That's a Norwegian movie for you. Life is not always happy ending.
A nice Ingmar Bergman, everyone's bummed ending. Did you like Let the Right One In?
What's that?
Did you like Let the Right One In, the vampire movie?
Or
did you not see it? Oh, you never saw it?
I have been in when did that come out?
Swedish vampire movie came out like 10 years ago.
I should see that. No, Swedish movies too. Sweden has great, movies and music and all that. Yeah, I should check it out. You're on top of your movies.
Yes, he's very good. That's why he's here.
Wow.
Oh, shucks, you too. but to me, it's exciting because you went into this as an actress who was going to produce this movie. And you came out of this as a producer who occasionally acts. And that, I'm looking at a producer now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We thought you were an actress when you came in. You're a producer.
I am. Yeah. And again, it is because I never played a lead part. I always played, strong supporting leads or small parts. And they were good parts and it was fun. But I wanted to do this big showcase kind of thing, like this big thing for myself where I show different sides of myself and I created a story and I did it. And now I realize, no, the acting was actually peanuts because I know acting. I studied for a long time.
Right.
What was hard was, like I said, continuation. Like, are people wearing the same thing? Is everything in order? Like, is this and that? All that stuff, making sure all the other actors can act and say their lines properly.
Wow.
Or not only that, but getting the right mood, that was what was hard. And then the scheduling, and also the script kept changing till the end. Now, David had a problem with that because, oh my God, the schedule can't keep changing. I'm like, no, but I have a way better idea now, Because that's what happens. You just got to go with this movie magic, like all of a sudden.
But David's the guy throwing up in the trash can, tearing his hair out.
So when you were doing this, did you print up, as producer, who did the work of making your call sheets for each film shot day?
The director did that. He did a call sheets for the whole movie, and he kept changing. Yeah, that was his job, and then the camera.
So that
lighting.
Producer and director at the same time. That's a heavy job doing both at the same time on a film.
Now he's a director and he directed on set, but like I said, I rehearsed heavily with each actor, and I literally went over. We even blocked everything,
Wow.
and we realized it might have to change. And the director was very easygoing, so he knew that. So it was a collaboration, and that's what happens when it's so small. You end up collaborating. Even for the set design for one room, we were going to set up the killer's room one day. We have a lot of wigs there and a lot of creepy other stuff. And I was so busy shooting my scenes. The makeup artist and the assistant. I had a wonderful assistant, and nobody.
What's her name? What's the assistant's name?
Lisa.
Wow.
Yes, which is my nickname also. And she was Japanese, and that's the thing when you're on set. Movies, you normally don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to the people behind the scenes. You pay attention to the stars, but she worked helped me so much. Just cleaning up bloody scenes. Wow. It's a pain in the ass, she did that. She assisted me so much,
That's why there's so much digital blood in movies nowadays, because they, in the bigger budget movies, they don't have time to clean up the main actress for a take after take.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
God.
Oh my God. And especially we had a bathroom scene was crazy. And me being crazy also, I gotta say something funny. So I was like, okay, we're gonna make this as real as possible. I'm going and buying real blood. I'm buying ox blood, and we're gonna put the real blood in the scene. And then the special effects guy was like, no, that's not what we do in movies.
He's right. Yeah, because one, people can start getting diseases from ox blood all over the disease.
But I gotta say, but just going to the butcher and buying meat, and be like, do you have some blood? Felt kind of good, I felt like a real creeper.
Like the head of your own satanic temple. Wow, but that's interesting to me. I mean, because you as an actress, you're used to being told what to do, where to go, when to be there. You as a producer, you have a confidence that's really exciting to watch. You know what I mean?
And it's funny because I don't consider myself a leader type at all. I like more to, I always like to act because I like people to direct me and tell me just more like be a follower. But like I said, I wanted to create something for my own, my own reasons, like act and make something that I can look back and say I did it, whether I'm proud of it or not. But then again, there's always the best worst movie. So worst case, hopefully give me that,
So you have seen best worst movie.
Oh, there's always those movies where you're like, God, what am I watching? Oh my God, that was funny. That's interesting. Wow,
I learned a lot for the first time.
Tommy Wiseau.
Last week, I went to a midnight showing because it's a cult film now. I saw The Room. Then I watched The Disaster Artist, and I'm going like, oh my God, this guy spent like $5 million. And
9 years of his life making that movie. You see everyone age when you watch The Room.
Wow.
Yes, it started in 1998 and then finished in 2003.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, I got to say something funny about the movie.
Please.
Which is like, because you're shooting, scenes mixed up. So the first day shooting the last scene and the first day, like all kinds of stuff.
Continuity.
Yes. And first night, I didn't sleep a second because of nerves, So I'm looking tired. And then I got to eat all day to stay awake, right? So I'm like, my body is like blowing up a little bit throughout the day. And then at the end of the shoot, I am like, like energetic and have slept, So like, you all of a sudden realize, oh my God, I look like 10 different people, But
I mean, there's a famous story. Robert Towne, the Academy Award winning screenwriter of Chinatown, he started out working for Roger Corman, and he has this great story watching. Basically, they did a movie called The Terror when Boris Karloff owed Roger Corman like 2 or 3 days. So Corman shot kind of some generic scenes with Karloff. Nicholson, because Nicholson was Corman's assistant, Jack Nicholson wound up in the movie. And it was like a 9-year movie. I mean, everybody... Everybody worked on it. Roger Corman worked on it. Monty Hellman, Francis Coppola, and
the aging makeup looks great.
Yeah, Robert Towne did this terrible quote. He goes, I knew Jack was never going to make it. Because the movie was like, he said he sat in the editing room because he edited The Terror, putting it all together. He said watching Jack Nicholson's hairline recede.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So I don't have to feel bad about my movie being like a little bit of a yo-yo.
The makeup, the hair and wardrobe is pulling hairs out.
And it's like, no, nobody's going to complain about your curviness, Madam Producer.
9 weeks, instead of 9 weeks, 9 years. I mean,
9 years, and everybody had worked on it. Everybody had worked on it. I mean,
really?
Oh yeah, it's one of the famous Roger Corman productions where everybody had done it. If you owed him a couple days, he would just have you shooting hallway scenes in The Terror. And you see them do flips and twists to come up with an ending of that movie, And
it's so crazy. But, speaking of that, I'm actually glad in a way that the movie was only 6 days because I have a short attention span. I like to move on to the next. It's like even if I do an acting scene or a movie, I'm done with it. I don't even want to, go back to it. So I'm glad, there's been when you produce, there's so many different stages and every stage is totally different. So now, if somebody told me you're going to shoot again, I would be like, hell no. You want to reshoot scenes? No. I got rid of everything right after. Like,
Did you really? The sets are gone?
My OCD kicked in the next day. I was like, I gave every actor their clothing or their props. I'm like, take it, just take it, I wanted nothing left.
we're on the air with the enemy of continuity.
Yes.
Elizabeth, apparently Norwegians don't believe in continuity.
Yeah, and somebody told me, what if you have to reshoot some scenes? I said, that's too bad.
Wow. So you actually gave everything away.
I'm done. Yeah, I was done. And also, no, that's not going to happen.
But you obviously not going to do this in your second movie.
Yeah, but also it has to do with the props and the way the apartment that we rented was set up and stuff, you know?
Did you rent an actual apartment, or did you do it like Renmar, or did you do it in like a parking? Where'd you shoot it?
I shot it in the place where it happened.
Really?
Wow. That's cool.
The energy of that. And I will tell you one thing that happened, and this is not a lie, swear my dead mama.
It's very rare when a producer swears on her dead mother.
2 weeks before, because the crazy person lived there, she wrote like these long monologues, you know, on text, but also in letter, and she put it on the fridge.
Oh,
gosh.
2 weeks before we started shooting, I come home late on a Sunday night, and there's a letter that's peeking out from underneath the stove that she dated 2014. I have it on my phone, I can show it to you, where she is ranting and going crazy and complaining about the dog and all that stuff. And I asked my other roommates, I said, did you guys see this come out? Did you use the stove? Has there been pressure? No, nobody had seen anything. So it was like one of those supernatural things, but I said, you know what? It's a little creepy, but it shows that this is supposed to be for some reason, you know? And again, the energy of and also during that movie shoot, the roommate who was staying in the room where she was staying started acting really fucking weird and crazy with me. And I lived with her for 2.5 years, and I never had a problem. So I think there's something about the energy of the real place, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like in Fatal Attraction, the movie Fatal Attraction. There's a great book out now on Sherry Lansing called Leading Lady on the studio, one of the first big female studio heads. And one of the actresses that was married to Parker Stevenson, one of the actresses auditioning, what's her name from Saavik from Star Trek, Cheers, what's her name?
Oh.
What's her name?
Fat actress.
Yeah, she's fat, yeah. Hang on, let me punch it up because it's a good story.
Kirstie Alley. Kirstie
Wow,
Alley.
good man.
Yeah.
I rarely have a freeze like this, so thank you for being here, both of you. So what happened is Kirstie Alley reads for what became the Glenn Close role or the wife role in Fatal Attraction. You know, and the movie's about the obsessed woman stalking Michael Douglas. And she goes to the director, Adrian Lyne, who did Flashdance and you know, a lot of great movies. And she says, I don't know if you're going to cast me or not, but she goes, whatever you do, you have to use this. And her husband was like a 70s TV star in the Hardy Boys. And he had obsessed fans. And there was one particular obsessed fan, and she got his phone number and left these ranting, long-running answering machine messages. Wow. And Adrian Lyne listened to it. And he said it haunted him because the craziness and the pain of the person speaking, and that became her big monologue. You know, you're not going to ignore me, and this fanatic's dialogue made it into the movie.
Whoa!
You know, it became actual dialogue in the movie. Did you don't you know what I mean?
Yeah, and actually, the letter that came out from the stove, I showed it to the lead actor. Said that's how she was. And she's crazy. I'm like, well, that's why there's a movie about her. And also, we used the same letter, but I changed it a little bit, of course.
Yeah, smart.
So yeah, absolutely. And I felt like it was a universal sign that you're on the right path for this. But also, hey, don't forget that she was nuts. Here, use this.
Yeah, I mean, and when you see that, and
she told me you need anger management.
Oh, wow.
Funny. Like there's anger management lacking in your today's society. I mean, I'm not going to laugh of bad English. I'm from another country myself, but it was just like, okay, well, we'll keep it just like that. And then the actor started changing it to better English. I'm like, no, we're sticking to reality. It was broken English.
But what's interesting is that you had a crazy person in your life, and a lot of people will obsess on it, it'll bother them, eat them up. You actually did what I would argue is the healthiest approach. You turned into a movie.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about being an artist in general, because as an actor, whenever life throws me lemons, I make lemonade. And even if it's just in my own path, it was maybe just in an acting scene in class, but if I had pain about something or anger or something, I would fuse it. There's always a way to turn it into something. You know, a lot of artists, we do that. And I think it's a very healthy way. And I think a lot of people should have a creative outlet. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a performer, but do something, you know, to get it out of your system, you know? Way better, but it took me 3 years to make a movie. But still,
you made the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, your roommate will still be crazy, but you made it into a movie. And this experience is now going to go down as you took what at the time was a negative experience and you turn it into a positive.
Yes, yes, exactly. And turn it into a funny experience too. It's like hilarious when you look at it, you know, like, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the way to go, you know, about life. You know, it's way healthier, way more productive. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Now, for you're obviously going to start a production company. What are you going to call it?
Well, I've been brainstorming the name. I have I created an LLC, which is called Pisces Rising. It's actually, my friend said, yeah, you should do it because, you know, like you're swimming up to the top here. Aww. But also Heart of Horror. Because it's Heart of the Home, and then there will be another Heart of something, you know? Wow. Heart of Chaotic Radio.
Yeah!
Imagine the movie you could have made if you went to that house door.
Nothing chaotic around here.
Yeah, you know, you never know. Oh,
You'd be in the punishment closet by now.
Oh my God, I'll be tied up and gagged right now. I'll be like,
burned with cigarettes.
Can you please just let me out so I can make a movie about this?
Hey, Polly, where are you? I don't see him putting the likes or commenting on the live stream here.
We're going to keep the actress producer talking. We don't need Polly right now.
Oh, too bad. Here he comes. Here we go. Polly, what's up, brother?
You better be more interesting than the actress producer sitting in front of us.
Thanks.
Is this Jeff Sargent?
Hey, what's up, Polly?
It's your friend,
How
Jeff
you guys
Sargent.
doing over there?
We're good. And yourself?
Is my absolute drop dead gorgeous girlfriend there?
Yes,
she's right here.
She just introduced us to her new producer.
You're supposed to be watching.
She just introduced us to her new producer boyfriend. She met him at AFM.
It doesn't surprise me at all. She's beautiful.
Oh,
you know what? We should have you in the control booth running the board here, then we could have we could make this.
I know. I guess John is asked out. I'm the bigger star than I am.
Yeah, but you're on the promo, man. We got your male model picture on the promo.
You haven't guessed, Paul. Jeff has a man crush on you.
One of those pictures is from photographer Justice Howard. She is excellent. She's done everybody in rock and roll, man. That's a long time ago. That one with the bandana.
Yeah. So you're going to be. So not only you a rock and roller or a rock star musician, you're going to be mixing this movie, right?
Yes, that is true. I would do anything for Liz. She's so talented, so beautiful, and so smart.
Yeah, we're convinced.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us that, brother. It's right in front of us.
We spent the last 90 minutes here, not much on directions, but everything else.
So you're going to be doing all the soundtrack, right? As far as the music and the sound.
She has some Japanese writers that we're checking out, and I will be aiding in the whole thing. Yes. But I studied music scoring, and I've done a few things myself. I just did a song with Eddie Roll. He's a famous producer in Los Angeles, and we just did a song for a Fast and Furious type movie, and it actually just got picked up. So I've been doing this a while.
Wow, what kind of score are you going to do for the Fast and Furious ripoff? Just whatever's in Fast and Furious?
Well, there's like with Liz, you know, when we both get together, it's such a mind producing artistic thing with the two of us. That's why we get along. There's just so many ideas thrown out there, you know.
No, is this going to be the first film you've scored?
Are you guys there?
Yeah.
Is this good? He's asking if you're going to be the first film score.
Is this your first full-length film score, or was it the Fast and the Furious knockoff?
I didn't quite understand the question, but what I'm gathering is that you guys wanted to know, is it Fast and Furious or just a spin-off?
No, I'm sorry.
He's using Paul, that metaphorically.
Paul, what we're wondering is the Fast and the Furious type movie you did, is that the first full-length film score you did?
No, it's not a full-length. It's just we did 2 songs for the movie, and they picked up the song. So I guess it's going to be during. It's a song about getting chased by the cops. So I guess it's going to be in a car chase scene.
Something we can all relate to.
Appropriate.
All too well.
Bad roommates and being chased by the cops are universal experiences.
I'm still running today.
Wow.
You know, it's actually funny at the end scene of the
Have an
movie.
email address. I'll send you the song right away. You
Yeah,
guys
send
gotta
it,
hear
Polly.
it. Kill it.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, there's a scene where I'm with the cops and everything, and I'm saying, and you know, we decide to change dialogue on the spot. I'm yelling out, Polly, what do cops say when they come to you? Well, they say, blah, 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 you know?
Yeah, drop your weapon. Drop your weapon.
On the air right now.
Well, Polly,
I can't drop my weapon when Liz is around, though.
yeah, I wish you know when you come in, you could. Why don't you and John, when you could bring the band in and maybe do some acoustic live stuff, and then we could play your stuff when you're in the studio, man.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we got so much in common. Like when we talked the other day, we know the same sound
Your man
guys.
crush is so blatant.
Well, yeah, you've got some,
The same
you've got some
bands.
ties-
What did you
you've got
pass
some
him a note
ties
in
to
study
Stephen
hall?
Pearcy from Rat, right?
Yeah.
You guys have ties to Stephen Pearcy from Rat and some of the guys from the Bullet Boys. I'm friends with Mark Tureen and Stephen Pearcy. I was signed to 2 albums. I was signed to Top Fuel Records, Stephen's label. I in '93 I played with Robin Crosby from Rat, you know, and
Wow.
we lived together and stuff, and we made a great album. It was just a tough time.
I dated a girl who used to wear, every day she would wear 2 different Rat shirts. I think she had more shirts than they had hits.
Yeah. We also have, we mentioned Jeff Burkhart, one of the best sound guys out in Hollywood. You know,
Absolutely. I know him, Jeff, and Jeff has known me forever.
And I had fun. I learned a lot from just being his cable guy and hooking up monitors. And the guy could hook up a band and make them sound so good. I mean,
yes, I worked with Jeff, and actually I had a studio over on Stag in the Valley where I rehearsed with Nick Menza of Megadeth, Jimmy Bain of Dio.
right, Jimmy Bain. He was good friends with him.
My neighbor has a dog named after Dio.
And hey, you guys know that Oni Rogan, another great friend of mine from Lynch Mob, he's now singing for Dio.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm so happy for him. Yeah. And actually, our band is on our way over to Wolf Dog Studios pretty soon. And that's the owner is Tim Hofstetter. And we were there just before the Viper Room show, which we just played a Viper Room show, and we donated all the money to Music Cares because our roadie died of stage 4 liver cancer.
God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he's in a better place. But Damon Dodd, I want to give a shout out to Damon Dodd and his family and everybody. But anyway, we did a big benefit concert at the Viper Room, gave all the money to Music Cares. They're a great foundation.
Wow.
And then for rehearsal, we went over to Wolf Dog Studios, and it was funny because Jizzy Pearl was in there a week before us. And Tim, the owner, felt kind of bad that we were coming in, and he didn't want to. We said, don't even worry about it, man. We don't care. Our band's better anyway.
Were you at the? I was last year. I rode my bike. I did the Ride for Ronnie, the fundraiser.
Right.
It was a great concert.
Stone is a good friend of mine too. Oni Rogan, because Patrick Stone of Butterside. We got up in at the Viper Room and sang Blackout in the Red Room together.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, all the girls were showing their boobs, but I didn't look because I have, the best looking girl in the world.
Pixar, or it didn't happen. You can private message those to us, and we'll study them carefully.
Yeah. Liz has got probably the nicest physique I've ever seen in my life, so I don't even look when the girls start showing their boobs.
Well, if you ever hope to produce movies, you better get good at it. Or turn to a trained professional.
It never happened to me in the early 90s or the 80s. I got to wait till 2018 for girls to start showing their boobs.
Yeah, huh?
Well, better late than never, as Ronnie James Dio might say.
Yeah, at least that's my Vince Neil moment, right?
You need that Vince Neil moment. You need the. By the way, I just saw him. I saw Poison, and I saw.
I'm good friends with Brett Michaels, CC, and Ricky Rocket. I toured with those guys when I was really young, and I toured with David Roth and when Steve Vai was in the band, and with Poison was opening up for him.
You toured with Diamond Dave?
Yeah. I was opening act for Poison.
Why? But here's the thing. I saw Poison like 6 months ago when they played out here.
Who was playing with them? Do you remember?
Yeah, the one-armed drummer he just mentioned.
Def Leppard.
Thank you. Yeah. So it was, I couldn't believe it.
There's an old joke about Def Leppard, but I won't say it, because I like Joe Elliott. He's cool as hell.
We're going to have to hear it off the air, actually. I think I know the joke, but I want to hear it once we're off the air.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you a joke off the air, yeah. Because I love Def Leppard, but... And Mario, that owned Rainbow and the Whiskey, used to say that Paulie, you and Joe Elliott are the only two guys that I told that could have chicken soup anytime they wanted. Unfortunately, Joe Elliott got hugely rich, and I didn't, so I kept eating the chicken soup.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with chicken soup. My mother insisted it cured everything.
It's good for the soul, Paulie.
It's good for the soul, Paulie. Let me ask you, though. Poison had so
money
many...
in my pocket.
Yeah, true. But Poison, I was shocked how many hits Poison had. I enjoyed them more than Def Leppard,
Hey, so I was dating this girl. This was years before Les, right? I was dating this girl, a redhead, right? And Brett comes by, and I go, hey, Brett, man, what's going on? He goes, hey, Paulie, what's going on? And he sits down at the table, and I go, we're shooting the shit. And I say to Brett, hey, Brett, man, I got to go to the bathroom. Can you watch my girl for a second? Sit here, right?
Mistake number one.
While I'm going in the bathroom, Brett says to her, hey, so you and Paulie serious? And she goes, oh, yeah, we're living together. And he goes, okay, well, it's nice meeting you. See you later. He fucking got up and left.
Wow.
We got a few minutes left.
Have you met Bret Michaels yet?
No. Okay, it's time to pimp you guys off.
Pimp you guys off.
I mean, okay, let's follow. We got
the show's Norwegian, and you're saying you want to pimp
the show's coming to an end. Plug yourself. Plug. Paulie, what's going on? What's happening? When's your next gig?
All right, this is Paulie Rockwell from Johnny Love and the Haters. I'm lead singer.
Paul, you're not the Rockwell who did Someone Is Watching Me, are you?
Another Rockwell joke. Okay, plug away, brother.
Rockwell, and I'm Liz's boy toy, and that's it. That's all I am, man. There you go.
And Bret Michaels' arch nemesis.
And
apparently.
hey, they ask how come you haven't sang Norwegian Wood for me?
Yeah, what the hell, man?
You've got a Norwegian girlfriend. You haven't pulled out the 12 string.
I'm Irish, and I don't even know the whole an Irish song. Have you guys heard Norwegian? It's impossible. She speaks to me like that. I swear her and her sister are making this shit up.
Wow, you have a sister.
Yes.
I think instead of Paula, you better bring her next time. Just for
well, look, when you come in the studio, bring a 12-string guitar, and we'll play Norwegian Wood. I'll play along with you, and we'll sing it to
when
her.
you come back, just bring your sister.
Every word has a story in Norwegian.
She's in Norway, unfortunately.
Well, but when she's here.
Yeah, she was just here. Where were you?
What the hell? You weren't here. Well, you're probably at the wrong house.
Okay.
She was doing an interview at the House of Pancakes.
Okay, Elizabeth, plug away.
Plug away, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Stenokelberg, actress, producer for Heart of the Home.
Wow. And spell your name.
STEEN-NOKLEBERG.
Wow.
Oh my God.
From Norway, yes.
That name is longer than your movie.
I know, right?
That's right.
All right.
But that's the way I look upon it. If you don't understand my name, no problem. You won't understand
Norwegian
anyway.
Wood amongst all the young guys across the world.
When do you think Heart is coming out?
Well, I hope to be done with everything within 3 months.
Wow.
That's what. That means you got to work really hard on this, Paulie. You're in post-production now, brother.
Including me.
Well, Elizabeth, last question. As a producer, what do you look for in material now? What changed you in the whole experience?
What I look for material. Well, I think it's important to have a good plot. I didn't have it in the beginning. Paulie helped me with that. Mm-hmm. I think it's the most important thing is just to be entertained. Whether it's suspense or comedy or drama. I am tired of watching movies where I'm just like, I decided to think about other stuff. I want to just be hooked. So it has to be something happening the whole time that keeps my interest.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. So whatever material I will be doing next, whether it's probably staying within the genre of horror, but whether it's more suspense and less comedic, I think, however, comedy is good in all kinds of stuff. I will always make sure that you will be glued to the screen.
And will you? So it's going to be a drama in a woman's prison? So,
I did
You're
a theater show where I was a woman in a prison, and I really liked it. Yeah, I like playing dark. Yeah.
Well, I think this sounds like the first set visit in Jeff Sargent show history.
All right. Hey, Polly, I got your number. I'll give you a call this weekend, and we'll set up another date here.
Text us the text us the Def Leppard joke.
Yes.
Okay, I will. And our bass player is on tour with the Ugly Kid Joe right now. He's Cordell Crockett. But we have Christian Doris from the Kidney Thieves, and he's going to stand in. We have Mike Dupke on drums from Wasp. And we'll be playing Whiskey in August, and we'll be playing the Sunset Backyard Bash in September. And come out and see us, Johnny Love and the Haters.
We're looking forward to it.
What's coming up for you, Elizabeth? Plug away.
Well,
you got 60 seconds.
The movie will hopefully be a big release in Japan, Norway, and the States. And you will be watching.
I can't wait. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your weekend and join us next week for Shark Week on the Jeff Sargent Show.
Tune in. We got an all-star cast coming in next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So tune in.
And you need to hear Norwegian Wood. Goodbye, everybody.
Norwegian Wood.
Perfect.
All right,
From the
bye,
Jeff
Paulie.
Sargent Show. Bye, Paulie.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Sargent Show. We'll see you
Bye-bye, guys.
next Wednesday.
Come on, nobody wants to look at you. There's a Norwegian right over there. Nobody wants to look at your face when there's a Norwegian model sitting across the table. Wow, hey, seriously, you were fantastic, Elizabeth. Thank you so much.